Back to blue on blue as senior Tories trade blows once more over Europe. London's new mayor reaches out to the Jewish community after Labour's damaging anti-Semitism row. A warning that Canada's wildfires are in no way under control as they sweep across huge swathes of forest. Ireland in the sun, Britain enjoying a mini heatwave and record-breaking temperatures. Celebrating television talent on the red carpet for the annual BAFTA Awards. And in Sportsline at 7:30, Man City's hopes of a Champions League place in the balance after a 2-2 draw with Arsenal. Good evening. Michael Gove's clash with Cabinet colleague George Osborne after he claimed that the UK could pull out of the EU's single market without damaging trade. The Chancellor, George Osborne, denounced such a move as catastrophic, saying he wasn't prepared to risk wrecking the economy. Well, the row marks a return to the EU referendum battle after a brief pause for local and mayoral elections. Our senior political correspondent Sophie Ridge has the latest.
London's Elephant and Castle is going through a £3 billion upgrade. 5,000 new homes are rocketing up in this small area alone. According to the Chancellor, the price of these new apartments could tumble if the UK leaves the single market. Housing is the latest political weapon in the European referendum war.
I'm pretty clear that there will be a significant hit to the value of people's homes and to the cost of mortgages. That is one example of the kind of impact, economic impact, that we get from leaving the EU. And you have today the Leave campaigners saying we would leave the single market. I mean, for me, that is an absolutely catastrophic economic mistake for our country.
For the Leave campaign, that's just scaremongering. The Chancellor was referring to an interview by Michael Gove, who argued the UK could pull out of the single market without damaging the economy.
We should be outside the single market. We should have access to the single market, but we should not be governed by the rules that the European Court of Justice imposes on us, which cost business and restrict freedom. At the moment, the Germans and others, or the German political establishment, I should say, and others, want us to stay in because it suits them. Because we pay into the European Union and we import far more from them. It's win-win for them at the moment. It should be win-win for us.
George Osborne's house price warning is for some just another example of Project Fear. But the Chancellor might not be too worried about that because in the Scottish referendum and also in the general election for that matter, Project Fear was a pretty effective strategy. So will it work this time?
I mean, in terms of house prices falling, that wouldn't worry me. That'd be a good thing, but I wouldn't want it to fall for those reasons. I'd want it to fall for the reasons such as there's a greater increase in housing supply.
We're homeowners and we have a mortgage, so it's obviously a consideration, but it's something which we'd want to look into, more closely, rather than just, go off one person's comments.
I've already made my mind up. So my opinion is sort of further away from the politics side of it, I suppose. But I think his opinion should be listened to.
Property experts say George Osborne could be right about house prices falling, but wrong about the reasons.
Irrespective of Brexit, house prices may well start to fall because of some of the tax changes that the Chancellor's brought in, particularly the increase in stamp duty and the turnover tax that he's bringing in on landlords. This may cause landlords to sell something like 500,000 properties in the next year.
Like it or not, house prices won't be the last political intervention. On Monday, David Cameron and Boris Johnson are both making speeches. Now the local elections are over, the EU referendum is firmly back at the top of Westminster's agenda. Sophie Ridge, Sky News.
Let's get more now with Sophie in Westminster. Sophie, indeed, as you're saying, it is normal service has been resumed, and it does seem to be once more the economy and economic matters at the top of people's concerns.
It does, and actually if you go around the country speaking to people about the EU, which of course we have been doing at Sky News, the economy does seem to come back again and again as something that people are concerned about. We did have that short break, of course, for the local elections where there seemed to be a bit of a truce within the Conservative Party. They all rallied together to try and get the votes in. Now it's back to business as usual, and there's a bit of blue on blue fighting. Today, of course, it was Michael Gove, the Justice Secretary, up against the Chancellor, George Osborne, and tomorrow we've got an even bigger billing when we've got two big speeches. David Cameron, the Prime Minister, is going to be arguing the case for in, and Boris Johnson will be arguing the case for out. And my understanding is that David Cameron's speech is going to be about security, so saying why, in his view and in his experience, the UK is safer as being part of the European Union. Boris Johnson, I'm told, is going to be launching more of an attack, really, on David Cameron's own negotiations, saying that he failed to negotiate these powers back from the European Union, and trying to explain, in his view, why we are better off out. So I think it'll be interesting to see how those two go up against each other tomorrow.
We shall see what the marks are at the end of the tally. Thank you very much for the moment, Sophie, and we're expecting even more in tomorrow's papers. Taking a first look with our press previews at 10:30 and 11:30, when we're joined by former Labour MP and Culture Secretary Baroness Jowell and political editor at The Sun on Sunday, David Wooding. Well, Labour's new Mayor of London has started to mend relations with the Jewish community after the anti-Semitism row which engulfed his party. 2 days after his election victory, Sadiq Khan took his message of tolerance, inclusion and reconciliation to a Holocaust memorial event. The Sky's Michelle Clifford now reports.
The Jewish community welcoming a Muslim mayor to a Holocaust memorial, even as the shadow of anti-Semitism accusations hang over Labour.
The newly elected Mayor of London, here on his very first official public engagement since his election.
Sadiq Khan is not the first in the role to attend this annual event, but making this his first public engagement could help send a powerful message.
The great thing about this city is Londoners of Jewish faith aren't simply tolerated, they're respected, they're celebrated and embraced, and I want to be a mayor of all Londoners, and it's been a privilege for me in my first public engagement to meet survivors of the Holocaust.
But choosing to come was arguably a risk. Yom HaShoah is an emotional, evocative anniversary, remembering the millions of Jews killed by the Nazis. And it's little over a week since his predecessor, Ken Livingstone, was suspended from Labour, accused of being anti-Semitic. His comments about Hitler supporting Zionism deeply offended Jews. And yes, many here believe Labour has a problem. But they do seem willing to give Sadiq Khan a chance.
I think it's an excellent thing. It's obviously a coincidence that this happens to be the first function since he's been elected as mayor, but it certainly sends a signal, I think, to the Jewish community and to the community worldwide.
It's been very damaging towards Labour, and I think Jeremy Corbyn hasn't helped. He's got to push his weight around and show that what he says he means.
As good a reception as he could have hoped for, and many watching on say the beleaguered Labour leader should try taking a leaf out of Sadiq Khan's book.
Absolutely right. Broaden the base beyond our Labour supporters. We have to do that. You win in that way, and you do that, as Sadiq Khan has shown, by talking about things that really matter to most.
Many Jews had worried Sadiq Khan's presence at the Holocaust Memorial and the political tensions engulfing Labour would overshadow what is such an important day for their community. But on reflection, almost all said it was the right thing to do. Michelle Clifford, Sky News, North London.
Thousands more people have been forced from their homes after the wildfires in Canada doubled in size in just 24 hours. Well, those fires have now been burning for a week, have forced so far almost 100,000 people from their homes. The fires themselves cover 494,000 acres. That's an area bigger than Greater London. Well, authorities say there are more than 1,400 firefighters currently tackling blazes across the province of Alberta. In total, 43 wildfires are now burning, 7 of them said to be out of control. Our correspondent Amanda Walker has the latest now from Lac La Biche in Alberta, where the battle against the fires and the relief operation are being coordinated.
Well, slightly positive news is that they had expected the fire to double in size over the weekend. That hasn't happened, but it is still huge. As you say, 7 of them still classed as out of control. The job they have here is coordinating all of the aircraft, which is really the main weapon they have in trying to put these fires out, trying to coordinate them, trying to get them to the right places. It's very unpredictable because of the winds. It's much windier today than it was yesterday. The direction of the fire can change. It can start in one area and then stop and then move to another area very quickly. Let's not forget this fire actually jumped a river. That's the power of it. So what they're dealing with is incredibly challenging, and this is what they're using. This is one of the air tankers. This one has actually been tackling the Fort McMurray fire. It's on standby now, waiting to see if it needs to go and back up the air tankers that are already above that fire at the moment. The big belly of it, if you like, that you can see there is the tank itself. That holds 1,750 gallons of water that can either be dropped straight onto an area of fire, or it can be done in a slower way across a larger area. But this is what they're using along with other aircraft. This is where they come to refuel, to refill with water before heading out to try and just really control the fire. What they want to do and what is crucial is keeping it away from communities. At the moment, it's heading in the right direction in rural areas. It's heading actually to the Saskatchewan border. So it is going in the right direction. But we know that that can change. Leslie Lazinski is from the Alberta Wildfire Management. It's an incredibly unpredictable situation, isn't it? Mainly because of the weather.
The weather and the shifting winds make it tricky to fight the fire, definitely.
Right, behind you here, you've got these other aircraft that have also been trying to fight the Fort McMurray fire. Tell us what they do. They're sort of scooping up water as they go.
Right, these are the Fireboss aircraft. They're 802 and they're amphibious. They can land on water, skim, fill up their tanks. They carry about between 450 gallons of water, and they can action the fire quite quickly. So they buzz around and they make quick loops from water to the edge of the fire and work on the flanks of the fire that way.
In terms of the air tanker here, that's carrying the most water, but we've seen the scale of this fire. How much impact can these, pretty huge tanks of water have on this massive fire?
The air tankers are very effective. And it's, if you can imagine a chess game where there's a bird dog with a pilot and an air attack officer flying high above, and he's coordinating the drops made by the large conveyors and the smaller air tractors. And he is orchestrating where those drops are happening and the timing of it and which areas of the fire they're working on. So depending on winds, they'll work on one corner of the fire. If the winds shift, they'll move and they'll work on a different corner of the fire. We've also got the helicopters with buckets working, and we've got, where it's safe, ground crews. So it's quite a substantial effort.
We heard from the authorities this morning that this could be months. What does that mean for you? What does it mean when you hear that? This is going to be a very difficult road ahead.
It will be a long road ahead. Any fire, it takes a long time we call it mopping up in the end. So once the initial devastation has gone through, there's still fires burning either inside the perimeter of the fire or along the edges, hot spots. So it'll take months to patrol those and work on those hot spots and mop it all up.
Thank you, Leslie. So earlier this morning, this entire tarmac here was full of planes. They're all now headed out above that fire, trying to contain it, trying to keep it in the right direction so that it doesn't come anywhere near these communities that it's affected so badly.
Amanda Walker updating us there in Canada. Here, police are investigating the unexplained death of a soldier in Brecon. The soldier who's not been identified was found injured and unconscious this morning, but died later in hospital. The Ministry of Defence has confirmed that he was not in uniform at the time and his death is being treated as unexplained. At least 73 people, including many children, have been killed after 2 buses crashed into a fuel tanker in Afghanistan. The head-on collision on the Kabul to Kandahar motorway left dozens of others badly injured. Bus drivers are known to drive at high speeds through the area, which is a hotspot for insurgent activity. 2 prison officers have been seriously injured after an assault by a prisoner in Wormwood Scrubs. The attack came just a day after staff returned to work following a walkout over health and safety concerns. Conditions at the prison have been criticised by inspectors after an increase in attacks on staff. Britain has been basking in the sunshine today, many enjoying the hottest day of the year so far, peaking at just over 27 degrees in St James's Park in London. Well, today's soaring temperatures in stark contrast with the unseasonably chilly recent weather many of us have endured, and sadly it won't last, as Sky's Fraser Maud reports.
bright blue seas and sun-kissed beaches. But this isn't Bermuda or Barbados, it's Bournemouth. Today's been the hottest of the year so far, with temperatures reaching over 27 degrees in London. That means Britain has been the warmest place in Europe this weekend, with the Costa del Sol and the Riviera almost 10 degrees cooler. But just over a week ago, some parts of the country were still battling the snow. It's only a few weeks since I was last here in the Peak District, standing on this very spot. The conditions then were a lot less pleasant. On higher ground like this, it's virtually a whiteout. There was snow up here as recently as last week, and even though the wind is still pretty strong, the temperature is a much more comfortable 23 degrees Celsius. Bar owner Rob Norbury is looking forward to happier times now the snow has given way to the sun.
It makes a massive difference, and I think it changes the attitude of what people do. You know, kind of, if you might pop out for one, you might come and have a couple of drinks, you might, decide to stay out for a bite to eat, so it makes a big difference.
The experts say it's our geographical location that makes our weather so prone to such rapid change.
Well, here in the UK, we're really on the boundary of lots of things between the ocean and the land, between the north weather systems and the south. So the heat wave at the moment is coming from the southeast, from the continent. The very cold weather we had a couple of weeks ago was coming from the cold Arctic. And overall, we're also seeing extra warm weather at the moment that's been given by a boost by the El Nino last year and early this year.
As you'd expect, the heat wave has had us rushing to the seaside. Visitors to Scarborough on the North Yorkshire coast keen to enjoy the weather while it lasts. And further south in Hunstanton, it was time for ice cream and sun cream as the temperatures climbed towards the mid-20s.
You were here last weekend with the wind and the rain. There's people here because of bank holiday, but as soon as the sun comes out, people flock to the seaside and just love the beach and the heat.
I just done my garden last week and it was hit and miss. And as soon as we knew it was going to be nice weather, we was up at 6:30, 7, out the door by 8, kids all breakfast, ready to go.
It's nice because I haven't been to the beach with my family a lot, and it's nice being with my family and in this lovely weather.
Unfortunately, though, the key phrase to remember is while it lasts. As the week progresses, the temperatures will gradually fall and the rain will be back. Fraser Maud, Sky News.
Good while it lasts. You're watching Sky News, coming up.